money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for him.
Yes, indeed, it is. It is time for hemp. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Casper Leach, and all around the world, it's always time for hemp. And you can go to timeforhemp.news and find that to be true. And you'll also find lots of free content to download, to share with your friends. On the program today, we got a groovy guest, and we're going to kick it off by saying hello to our joint host first. And don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, we want you to puff out and say hi here at Time for Hemp. And we're going to kick it off with my joint host up in Canada, Al Graham. Hey, Al, what's going on up in Canada?
Hey, Casper, how you doing? I'm doing all right. I can tell you that, it's that time of year, we're enjoying the herb.
And you got a lot going on at Groovy Network, don't you?
Yes. Pace Network. You can find us at paceradio.net. We cover cannabis as well as psychedelics 7 days a week.
And we've also got an author on the program who wrote this groovy book about all of our joint friends. And he's our joint host as well, Al Bird. Hey, Al.
Good afternoon, evening, depending when you're seeing us. Yep, that's it. That's the book I wrote. It's called For Country and Cannabis. It's a 40-year history of how did we get medical cannabis in the world anyway. It's written about the United States, but everything that happens in the United States happens everywhere. And while we're talking about cannabis and everywhere, we have a long way between us. Al is up there in Ontario, and I'm down in the panhandle of Florida. So we got thousands of miles here. But one thing I wanted to point out is thousands of miles away in Europe, we have some 30 countries that have cannabis in their pharmacopoeia. In other words, are available for medicine in those countries. Portugal, United Kingdom, Germany, so not particularly throwback countries. They're very much aware of what good health is. And for those people in those countries, they could get cannabis. And in this country, veterans can use cannabis in veteran facilities in legal cannabis states, meaning either legal or medical, which is a problem we're going to talk to a little bit later with our guest, Brian Buckley, who is coming back again for a second time with us to talk about his movie. I have it from Inside Information. It looks like Brian's going to be the star, that he might be being found. Huh? So maybe we could bring Brian on.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you very much. Great to be back.
Good to see you. Well, listen, the movie, although we're making some fun here, and it is fun to do that to a Marine. The other thing is, this movie is a pretty serious subject. Not serious subjects I've had to deal with in my lifetime, and it goes on every day and every night, everywhere, and we got to stop it somehow. So one of the approaches, apparently, and I'm going to let Brian tell you about this, is he has an acquaintance, a friend, and they have a movie. Brian Buckley, please explain to us where you are and where this is. And I think, Al Graham, you can bring up something on there. Yeah, here we go.
I'll do that.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So, friends of mine that I served with in the Marine Corps were doing a ayahuasca ceremony, and they met this great Army veteran named Jason Baldwin. And Jason has been in, the acting industry, if you will, for quite some time now. And, has done some things on CBS that shows SWAT and some other roles here and there. But I believe after what happened during August of 2021, during that chaotic, quote unquote, withdrawal of Afghanistan, really hit a lot of veterans very hard, especially the veterans of the global war on terrorism. Essentially we went into Afghanistan and, we leave 20 years later and it's probably in a worse place than it was when we got there. So he wrote this script for a movie called Tourniquet. And why I really wanted to get involved with this is the massive problem we're having with veteran suicide. If you actually looked at the military members we lost in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Persian Gulf War, and the global war on terrorism, we've lost actually more people from 2001 to now from suicide than we did in all those wars combined. It's a very, very, very serious issue that people just are not discussing. And what I think this movie will do is really highlight the situations we're having and kind of make it more mainstream. And hopefully it will lead to helping to reduce this veteran suicide situation.
Well, that's a pretty high number and a pretty odd fact. What on earth is driving that many human beings who have served their country and defended our freedoms to take their life?
I wish we had the answer. I sit on a veteran advisory board for a member of the United States Congress named Madeleine Dean. And Madeleine, she's a Democrat. My political party is the United States of America. And I just think if your country asks you to serve, you serve. So I will help out Democrats. I'll help out Republicans and everyone in between. Mm-hmm. And we were having a conversation on one of our phone calls, probably back in the early spring. And, I'm not going to go down a political realm here, but we were talking about some of the things that was going on with the VA. And in terms of, do we have enough doctors and so on and so forth. And that can go any way you want to take it. And I was kind of quiet during it. And I was asked, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, well, the summer's coming. And that's when the suicides start to happen. It just seems like every summer, 3 or 4 times throughout it, I'm getting a phone call about this guy committed suicide and I'm like, that's what's scaring me. And then sure enough, early June, I get a phone call from her. And when you get those phone calls, sometimes you just have that feeling like this isn't going to be good. And I just knew, I'm like, something's up here. And she's very upset. And she told me one of the members on her staff, who was an Army veteran, committed suicide the night before. And she's like, Brian, you called it. You said the summer's coming and this is going to happen. And she's like, and I just can't believe it happened to, one of my members of my staff. And she asked that, she's like, why is it the summertime? And I told her in particular with the GWAT veterans, that was what we would call the fighting season in Afghanistan. They would, wintertime, they're back down in Pakistan, the Taliban are. They're just kind of hanging out. And then as soon as the spring comes up, they come back up for Pakistan and they have the farmers throw out poppy. They grow that and then they will cultivate it into essentially heroin. And it's what we would refer to as the fighting season. And I was like, I just think a lot of the demons kind of come back up at that time for people.
Yeah. And let me just interrupt you. I just want absolutely on. I was once a counselor for the Agent Orange program in the VA. Mm-hmm. What we call it in the veteran language, what Brian has just discussed, is anniversaries. Vets are really big on anniversaries. If they got shot or blown up or something on a particular day, boy, coming up on that day for the rest of their lives is horrible. And that triggers these types of suicide incidents that Brian is concentrating on. To answer Casper's question, go back to what I said about being a counselor. I was a counselor in 1990 and a few years on either side, right? So that's 15 years after the Vietnam War. where we had 58,000 and a few more killed, KIA, down. They're not coming home. By that time in 1990, Vietnam veterans had more had committed suicide than had died there.
Yeah. 15
years later. So that the numbers as we go forward with all these other different combat vets like Brian, it's so this movie, so the name Tourniquet, I mean, right there, it's like, what's that about?
Yeah, it's I really liked how he presented it, because it's about a son. There's a father and a son. So the son served in Afghanistan, and his father served in the Vietnam War. And try not to give away too much of the movie, but different wars, but kind of same issues. And you'll see during it, one kind of gets reminded by the demons and starts going down a dark path, where the other starts to find redemption and starts to, build the courage to live and, not just kind of go down a path of destruction. And it's just anyone, Al, I can send you the script and you'll read it, and it will just blend right into like a personal story for you. It's a very personal, I think, to all veterans that we can all relate to. And it's really captivating, I think, for the audience. My wife read the first page of the script and was just totally sucked in by it. He does a really great job. And that's where, again, we just want to kind of present something that this is like your next door neighbor. This could be your cousin, your brother, your sister, or loved one. It happens to a lot of us. And I just think this is going to be a very powerful kind of, after you see this movie, you're going to sit there for 30 seconds and not say a word and you're just going to be thinking, what the heck did I just see? But, I think we got to start making the suicide discussion more mainstream. I think it was one of those things we just don't like to talk about, and we kind of hope it kind of goes away, and it's not. And I've really faced this hard in the Raider community, where we've lost a lot of guys to suicide, and we lost 3 guys last summer. And these are guys who were not like, they're sitting in a bar and just drinking their life away. I mean, these are guys, one guy got an MBA from Columbia University and was doing great. There were no big, like, traditional red flags. And I want to talk about that after this. But we decided that we're like, hey, listen, instead of just saying like, oh man, suicide's a bad thing, we got to really kind of get in people's face about it. And one thing we all started talking about was, you're giving the enemy a victory. That bullet, it might have just took that bullet 15 years to find you, but the enemy did essentially kill you. And, talking about the collateral damage, that fine, you hit the easy button, you killed yourself. But for the rest of the lives of your friends and family, they're going to be tormented by thinking, what could I have done? Could I have done more for them? And that's truly the horrible part of it. And it's like, hey, pick it up, put that ruck back on your back and get forward with life. I mean, don't just sit there and kill yourself, because that's just the easy way out, and you're giving the enemy a victory. And this summer was the first summer in a while that we didn't have one suicide. So we don't know if that was maybe just having that kind of hard discussion about it where, oh, please don't kill yourself, you got so much to live. Well, no, we kind of turned it back and saying, you're letting the enemy win if you're going to take your life. And maybe something like that triggered something and just kind of got things out there for people to talk about. And, everyone always asks, why is it, or what is it? Like, how do you know if someone's going to do it, or is there any traditional signs? There isn't. And a bunch of the Raiders I've served with, we're all in this one big Signal chat. There's probably like 50 of us on this thing. And we started talking about the suicides. And one guy said, he's like, I want to share something with you. He's like, I got up one morning, all the bills are paid, life is good, not an issue in the world. I made a cup of coffee and I'm ready to walk out on my porch and just take in a beautiful San Diego morning. And he's like, as I walked outside and sat down, a voice in my head said, today you're going to kill yourself. And he's like, and I put my coffee down and I was ready just to walk in my house, walk up my stairs, grab my gun and do it. But as soon as I opened that door, he kind of went, whoa, what the heck? And was like, what is going on here? And kind of thought about it, sat down, started processing it, and was like, it was so scary of just how nonchalant it was. Like, hey, go upstairs and brush your teeth. Like it was just kind of like a second nature. And when he shared that story with you, I'm not kidding, guys, 8 more guys rogered up at that point and said, I had the same experience. Just something one day just said, go do this. And I was about to do it. And for whatever reason, I stopped. So it's not like something like, oh, your buddy's going through a divorce or your buddy lost a job. They might be more prone to it. These demons can come up and bite you at any moment. And again, these are things that we got to get out there in the open and not make people feel so isolated or weird. Like we're all dealing with this.
What separates the military experience with suicide from a civilian in the aspect? There's a lot of people who deal with the suicide issue, but they're also bipolar. And so there's a chemical imbalance or an understanding of that nature. They can deal with it by taking a bipolar medication. And, but is it that a military experience, something on the battlefield that all these military members have in common? Is it because they've been dealing with death on the battlefield, or is it still something even more?
Let me answer your question before you finish it. There's 2 things going on in that question. The first thing is trauma is trauma. Whether that trauma occurs on a battlefield or because somebody is trapped in a burning house is immaterial. It's trauma, okay? It's where that trauma comes from. A serious car accident. And here's the deal with post-traumatic stress. It's not a disorder. The D is inappropriate. Post-traumatic stress is what it is. Post, after. What? After what? Traumatic stress. I mean, bam. All right, so here's the way you get post-traumatic stress. There's only 3 ways. And you can have all 3. And unfortunately, that's one of the answers to Casper's question. Because in the military, you experience all 3 ways to be traumatized. Traumatized, number 1, you kill somebody. You actually get to the point where you have to kill another human being. That is trauma. Mm-hmm. Second way to get it, that other human being tries to kill you and almost does. Puts 4 bullets in you and somehow you make it. That's trauma number 2. Third trauma is Brian is getting shot up and his buddy is standing next to him watching it happen. And at that moment cannot help Brian. Trauma number 3. So in combat, the soldier, the sailor, the airman experiences all 3, sometimes at the exact same moment. So their post-traumatic stress can be serious, but it's all serious. The other thing we found as counselors back in the day, and we dealt almost exclusively with Vietnam veterans, combat veterans of Vietnam, not guys that sat on ships, but guys that rode the boats in the river, and the Marines, we had Army, whatever. 60% of the men and women diagnosed with post-traumatic stress after Vietnam had post-traumatic stress before they even went in the military, which is, I've talked to some researchers at the University of Texas about a year ago about this, and they went, what? What did you just tell me? So what you got is you got some kid that was grown up and beat up by his dad for his whole friggin' life. He's already got post-traumatic stress. Or a girl that comes into the military and she's been raped or abused somehow. She's got post-traumatic stress. Then they put them in the military and shit. So there is a difference, but it isn't, they're not in treatment. And both the person that has this horrible car wreck and her brother dies next to her and all that, the cannabis will work for her and will work for the veteran. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think these are important little facts, historical life that I've led that people need to hear. Because if you think about that, when you're dealing with post-traumatic stress as a veteran, and you're talking to your veteran buddy, girl, boy, whoever their friend is, you got to find out, wait a minute, what happened to you? You know, before you got in the Marines, before you got in the Air Force, what the hell? You know, it's all important. It's important to listen. And as Brian says, it's important to talk. You have to talk to each other. Veterans have to talk to each other. Civilians that have been traumatized, you need to talk to your husband, your brother, your father, your priest. Talk to somebody. It helps. It really does help. And it helps to avoid these anniversary problems. I'm sorry, Brian, but
yeah, you know, Al, that was perfect. And I was about to say, I mean, that's what I think one of the big parts is that anniversary time. You know, especially I brought up earlier about the fighting season from May through October. You know, I'm sure, Al, you probably have the very similar experiences. I mean, you know, first thing I wake up and I think about is usually combat. And before I go to bed, the last thing I'll think about is usually combat. You know, I still have the dreams and everything. You know, war is it's exciting and terrible. And it definitely, you know, I think it envelops itself around your soul. It's always going to be a part of you. You know, even when I first got into Marine Corps, and I don't care what people say, when you see people with a bunch of medals and all this stuff, you're like, man, that looks so cool. And I want to be like that. And, you know, you get into these units, and trust me, I loved going to combat. I loved being in the infantry and reconnaissance and special operations. Like, I wanted to do that. There is no play a little violin for me, like what they do to you. No, I wanted that. But it comes at a cost. And you're just never going to be the same person again. And I think, you know, to Al's point, you got to talk about and have these conversations. For me, it's very therapeutic just to have conversations with people and talk about things I experience. I know other people, they don't like to, and that's fine. That's their journey. But it's definitely something that will always be with me. It's always going to be with every veteran. And you're going to have these demons that you're never going to beat. You just have to learn to live to fly above them. And it's literally one day at a time. So I think having these conversations and getting it out there that, hey, you're not some weirdo or you're isolated and you're the only one. There's hundreds of thousands of us who are dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with. And are
you taking this to the VA right now, this issue?
Yeah. You know, so to kind of circle back with Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, when we were having this conversation, I'm like, hey, are you ready to, you know, think differently? And that's one thing I really respect about her. You probably never heard of her. She's not out there trying to get the cool little sound bites and all that stuff. She's there to represent the people that voted her in. And, you know, to even give her credit after the Afghanistan debacle, you know, I had some long conversations with her, and she was the only Democrat going into the meetings in Congress. It was all Republicans and one Democrat, but she went in there after the conversations her and I had. And I wrote a 25-page paper, all cited, no kidding, with all this stuff about things we need to do to start looking at things differently for our men and women who served, and not going down the traditional routes of just give them a bunch of opiates and numb them up and hopefully the problem goes away. There's no kidding, you know, Al, you've said it many of times during our conversations. There's been no plant that's been studied more than a cannabis plant. There's a ton of research out there showing the benefits. We're seeing the benefits of psychedelics. These are things we need to start looking at, and, you know, helping veterans out to help rebuild them, to help them get that purpose. We're all essentially working dogs. I mean, we all want to go out there and do things. Well, we got to find something that veteran really wants to do, not just give them money every month and again, hope the problem goes away. Give them that purpose in life again. So her and I have been working on this. She was very upfront. She's like, Brian, it's Congress. This is going to be a long slog of a fight to try to get through there. But she's advocating for our research. She's doing a lot. And, you know, hopefully we can get Congress to stop looking at this little stupid sound bites they always try to go out there and do, and, you know, circle back on the people that we really should be looking at first to help. And that's our men and women who served in uniform. So hopefully we can get it there one day, but it's going to take all of us to keep talking about it, get things out there. And that's why I'm so hopeful we can get this movie made, because I think it's going to be a really big punch to the gut to everyone that's saying, boy, like, I've kind of turn my back on the veterans, not in a mean way. You just think about other things, but there's these men and women who went out there and signed a blank check payable with their lives, and we're not doing much for them when they come back home. So, we'll see what we can do.
I never understood that, because I being in the military, I can certainly tell you every member of the military matters, and every member of the military is a strong character individual who has really put forth a lot for the people they love. And you would think that their participation, even if it's for just 2 years, would definitely be forever remembered by their country.
Yeah.
I noticed before we get, I know we're getting close to the end here, but I noticed in the write-up on the movie, it mentions that any profits from the movies would be going to veteran organizations in order to help vets.
Yeah. This isn't like hey, let's go out and win an Oscar and be famous. This is something that, we want to put forward to help the men and women who served. And again, this can be some sort of launch pad to help them go live that new life. That's what we're here to do. So no one's, we don't really, the only time we're talking about money is, man, we need to get some money so we can make this movie. But no one's saying, hey, what kind of car are you going to buy afterwards? That's right. Not even on the table. It's how can this help men and women who served?
That's the goal.
Well, that's certainly true. Being a hemp activist as well, I know that Al can also testify that we are hemp activists because we believe passionately that this plant can be of real benefit, but we're not making any money off of what we're doing. We do it because we love the people around us and we care about the future. So. Yeah. With that said, Brian, why don't you let people know how they can reach out to you if they care to?
Yeah, I would just say, please, look at that website we have there on the GoFundMe, and anything you can do to help support this movie. That's where my passion lies right now, is really to get this thing built up. I'm also kind of had the call again. I just, I do a lot of reading and just how things are going right now in the world. I decided I want to kind of get back and help out some more on an analytical side. I don't want to kick in any more doors. I think that door might come back and knock me on my old ass. So right now I'm just working on a master's program in Homeland Security and Counterterrorism. And I'm actually using my VA benefits to help pay for that. So there's a lot of things out there to all the veterans. There's a lot of money on the table that you can use that you more than deserve. And I'm going to Penn State, and they actually kind of really helped me find the right bucket of money to pull from. I'm a 100% disabled veteran, a Purple Heart, got shot up in Afghanistan, and I was going to use what they would call your Chapter 33 benefits to pay for school. And they're like, well, why don't you use your Chapter 31 or see if you can. And the Chapter 31 is not more or less, hey, go out and get a college degree. It's use this money to get a degree so you can find a job. And I need to get this master's degree so I can go work for Homeland Security or one of the other agencies out there. So I'm actually using my Chapter 31 benefits that I didn't even really know existed. And I still have my Chapter 33 if I want to use that later in life, if I want to get a PhD or things like that. And there's also things that like my family can use off of this as well. My wife can go get another degree. My kids, their schooling will be paid for. So there's a lot of benefits out there. So I just really advocate for people to go out there, go meet with a counselor on your VA benefits, and just find what is out there. Because unfortunately, the government will not advertise the money you can get. But if you work hard at it, you can find ways to get that taken care of. So,
and just in case anybody's worried, every benefit that Brian is talking about, cannabis will not interfere with it.
Right.
Cannabis has nothing to do with anything. The VA doesn't care about your use of cannabis other than they want to know therapeutically how well it does for you. But you won't lose any benefits. So we just have to repeat that.
So cannabis, that means that they can, if they're out there listening, that means they can also be for country and cannabis, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you
go. Yeah. Yeah.
And
for country and cannabis.
And in order to read this, they're going to have to be able to keep the pace of the educational system around them. And to do that, there's a groovy network that can help in Canada, right, Al?
Yes, there is. Pace Network. Find us at paceradio.net.
Oh, here we go. Cameo appearance.
Yep, this is
Cameo appearance.
Yeah, I gotta bring the dog up.
Yeah, with dog people, we everybody on this screen, folks, has a dog or more. What do you got? You got two of these guys, right?
Yeah, this is Juno, so they're a poodle. So his sister is literally jumping on us right now. Pull her up.
Yeah, well,
they are adorable.
And this is Chewy.
And yeah, the girl's got, what, she got a pink or a purple collar. Oh, yep. She's a girl. That's a girl. Yeah.
But she is the most fiery one of them all, though. She was the runt of the litter, and I think she just wants to prove her toughness every day. So she jumps on the attacks and does everything. So, right, Chewy? There you go.
Very pretty. Very pretty.
Well, and I want to thank our audience for tuning in today. Remember, the next time you see me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp. Throughout Earth's history, hemp has been used, no mystery. Hemp was legal to pay your taxes for more than a century. Check your faxes. The founding fathers make sense to me. It's time to grow hemp legally. Think of all its uses. It's money that's well spent. Right now, no excuses. It's time for hemp. Sustainable green industry, that's our intent. A better place this world will be. It's time for hemp. Fuel and food and clothes and soap, housing, cars, yeah, cars, no joke. Henry Ford built a car of hemp. It's time for us to do it again. People be employed with balanced farming as it's meant. Right now, it's time for hemp. Hemp is a true necessity for the wealth and protection of this country. These are words of Jefferson Thomas. He grew hemp, why not us? It's time to lift the hemp ban. It's time to lift the hemp ban. Yes, we can. I know we can. We can make a difference. Yes, we can. Yes, I know we can. We can work together and lift the hemp ban. Look at all that money. Yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation. Yeah, it's time for hemp.